Jon Culshaw tells you you're back with the Power of Three podcast. As you may know, this is a Scottish podcast, well, Scottish based, and of course we love all our Scottish doctors in particular, especially the 12th, Peter Capaldi. Yes. I'm Kenny Smith, and today we are doing a special episode which marks the launch of Big Finish's new 12th Doctor Adventures range, which has kicked off with Run Fast, Be Kind. So what can we tell you about this range? The 12th Doctor, as played on screen by Peter Capaldi, will return for a brand new series of audio adventures beginning in 2026, now voiced by impressionist Jon Culshaw. These thrilling tales will fill a gap in this Doctor's timeline, set between the Christmas specials The Husbands of River Song and The Return of Dr. Mysterio. The 12th Doctor Adventures, Run Fast, Be Kind, finds the Time Lord dealing with life as a widower, following his final adventure with River Song. But he's not alone for long, as he picks up a new companion, Ash Wilton, a travelling bard from the end of the universe, voiced by Gwithian Evans. The Doctor and Ash's adventures are produced by the creative team behind the fan-favourite award-winning 11th Doctor Chronicles series, with Alfie Shaw as the producer and lead writer. The episodes are being released as weekly downloads. Once all the episodes have been released, they will also become available as a complete downloadable box set. So that's where we are with this. Shall we hear a trailer? I think we should.
From Big Finish Productions.
Oh, don't shoot! I've got a gig! And they're actually paying!
Doctor Who, the 12th Doctor Adventures. Run Fast, Be Kind.
Oh, you're him! The Time Traveller.
Most people call me the Doctor.
Well, Doctor, I hope you rot in here.
We said goodbye this morning. I knew it was my last goodbye. But not for her. She'll see me again. When she left, it was like she died all over again.
You said that...
Shut up about that. The future's not our problem here.
But you said that...
Oh, I'm sorry. Has the concept of shutting up not quite made it here? Are you familiar with be quiet? What about shush? You heard of shush?
You don't want quiet. You want answers. How has no one killed you already?
They have. I got better.
But you do have a plan, other than just waving your screwdriver at it, don't you?
Of course I do.
Which is?
Run!
Are you insane?
I told you, I don't like guns.
Even when they're the only thing keeping us alive?
I'm sorry, has somebody replaced your brain with a biscuit? We're trying to help you.
Swears he's not a con man, but has fake papers.
They're not fake, they're psychic. And I'm sure you must get asked this all the time. But why aren't you dead?
I am eternal. I am incapable of dying.
Oh, wow. That's...
The Trevi Fountain.
It's gorgeous.
It's wrong.
Shall I just assume everything here is either wrong, hateful, or both?
Would save a lot of time.
Why do you think you can hide? In your little box?
Stun grenades. Hey, muscles. Catch.
Sorry, Doctor. I'm not you.
I'm not asking you to be.
Yeah. Yeah, you are.
Ash!
Big Finish, for the love of stories.
Tell the Doctor.
Yes?
Forget it. He won't care.
Oh, my boy. That's all he does.
So now we're going to be joined by some special guests, two of whom are old pals of mine, Lisa Bowerman, who is the series director, and the aforementioned Alfie Shaw, who is the producer and the head writer on this series. I'm also delighted to say that we're being joined by Gwithian Evans, who plays Ash, who was more than happy to come on and discuss his work in the show because, as we're about to discover, he's a bit of a fan, particularly of the era of the 12th Doctor. He's a good lad, we like him already. So, let's hear from our guests and find out more about this range, which I do have a personal attachment to, as you're about to find out.
Hello, I'm Alfie Shaw. I'm the producer, I suppose head writer, script editor, T-boy, and all other occasional jobs on the new series of the 12th Doctor Adventures.
I'm Lisa Bowerman. I directed the 12th Doctor Adventures.
My name is Gwithian Evans, and I play Ashlawn Wilton, the travelling bard companion.
Fantastic. Well, when Alfie talks about being the tea boy, I can confirm that Alfie made me a fantastic cup of tea back in May. So absolutely, if you guys have been in studio with him and he's making tea, you're in luck. Well done.
Thanks. Of all the jobs that I do, that's the one that gets the compliment. Producing rubbish. The scripts are terrible, but God, the tea's great. It really makes up for everything.
Yeah, I didn't like to say anything.
British priorities and all that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Alfie, as producer, of course, you've got experience of bringing us the previous 11th Doctor run. So, how did this 12th Doctor series come about?
Sort of a bit by accident, really. So I quit. I'd quit from producing. I was entirely out. And then Big Finish came back to me and said, would you like to run 11 and 12 again? And I turned down 11 because I did it, and I don't think I've got much else to say with that character, and it's important that new people come in and have a chance to tell new stories with it. But with 12, I never really got a chance to do a full run with it. And we were sort of kicking around ideas of what we would do before Jacob said he was done. But then we, myself, Lisa McMullin, and Max Koszewski were just sort of going, we're kicking around like, well, what would we do if we did 12? And within a sort of hour or so, we had the idea of Ash, we had the setting for the end of the universe, and we knew exactly what the series finale, episodes 10, 11, 12 would be about. And off the sort of excitement of that's when we went, yes, we're back for 12 more episodes.
Fantastic. So Lisa, this must be pleasing for you getting to come on board and get that feel to run a series as director, to have that consistency.
Absolutely. I mean, I haven't really dipped my toe into main Doctor Who's, apart from actually the last 12 we did with Jacob, which was a little while ago. And I'd only ever done one main line, I think, with Sylvester called 1,000 Tiny Wings. So the opportunity to have this huge sweep of story arc and consistency in the studio, and an opportunity to cast, which I always have fun with. It's interesting because obviously I didn't know at this stage who was going to be playing, was going to be playing the 12th Doctor. So I thought, well, who's it going to be? I was told I'd had actually directed John before, and I will get on to later when we get onto the subject of the casting of John, just how exciting it turned out to be. But I've had a ball from beginning to end up to, at this point, episode 6. So onward.
Fantastic. So Alfie, creating a new companion, it's a different dynamic by having the Doctor and a younger male companion, given that we've obviously had the Doctor and Nardole previously.
Yeah, it was. I mean, again, it was in that planning meeting. We were just going, okay, well, what's new and different and interesting, and what would kind of keep us excited as creatives, really. And as you say, there's not really all male TARDIS teams are quite rare. You especially don't get them in the new series. So we thought, well, we'll do that a bit. It's a bit just something different. It's a fun dynamic. And then given, as people will, have heard in the first couple of episodes, which we've gone out now, obviously. Episode 1 ends with Ash considering taking his own life. Episode 2, it's about them kind of starting that healing process together. It just gave an opportunity to look at, like, the series is about broken men, which I think we make quite apparent with the title of episode 2 being Broken Man. But it's just a way of exploring that theme, really, and getting to explore it like a different dynamic, because you very rarely get the Doctor actually being a doctor. Like, sometimes it's like everyone's, there we're happy, friends traveling around the universe. But in doing that, we get to see, because obviously the 12th Doctor at this point, he's had all the kind of Clara therapy and he's coming into his emotions. But to do a sort of almost radically empathetic version of 12, we get to see a new side of him that I think is there. He has never needed to put out that version of Big having to look after someone before. We see him being kind in the later runs, even if he does it in that sarcastic way. Whereas here, it's him very much being like, okay, nope, this is full empathy mode. I'm letting this side of me show. And so again, it's a fun way of expanding the character and getting to explore. So, I mean, it's a way of, with Doctor Who, I'm always sort of looking at what's a new and interesting kind of character thing, because I think that's kind of what people are really invested in, doing a new dynamic and something different that we haven't even had on Big Finish for 20 so years and the TV show for 60 whatever at this point, and just a way of keeping it kind of fun and interesting for the audience as ever, because it's one of my series, loads of trauma, just all the trauma, all the time, super bleak, but with some nice jokes along the way, just to balance things out. That's kind of really where Ash came from. And then again, there's a lot of, I put a lot of myself into Valerie, but Ash is very much a kind of, not quite a self-insert, but it was more, if I was in, because I think a lot of Doctor Who fans imagine themselves being the Doctor and running around and being like, I'm the hero. And I'm thinking, well, if a time-travelling person came up to me and has done the things that the Doctor's done, what would your sort of realistic reaction be? Because I'm not sure I would entirely get on with them, but I would at some points and not with others. So again, it was just an idea of being able to explore that and give a new edge to the run.
Now, Gwithian, before we find out how you came to be cast, tell us a bit about yourself. And I understand that you are a bit of a Doctor Who fan.
I mean, I am a bit of a Doctor Who fan. Yeah, this is sort of a dream come true. I mean, we'll get to how the casting happened, but it really was. I was talking to someone the other day. I'm currently doing a show at the moment because my background is mostly theatre, almost entirely theatre. And someone was talking to me the other day. Often you have these conversations with other actors like, what's your dream role, blah, 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 and all this stuff. And the question came to me and I said, well, I've almost in a way, I've kind of done it. A real dream role is to be part of Doctor Who, or be part of especially a radio series of Doctor Who, because I'm a big fan of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy as well. And so I kind of ticked that off, and that was just it was an absolute dream. Because as I say, the 12th Doctor is my favourite Doctor, and I grew up watching Doctor Who, and it was a bit of a whirlwind. I was kind of flashbanged by the just everything around me. It was amazing. But how it came to be, I remember I was having a pretty tough time in Vienna with a particularly tough castmate, and everything was all going a bit wrong, and I was trapped in Vienna for another 2 weeks, and with sort of projects vaguely in the distance, and then I got a text from Lisa saying, "Oh, hi, do you want to be the new companion on the 12th Doctor series?" I went, "Sorry." Sorry, and she said, "Are you free for these dates?" And I said, "Well, let me check." But it was amazing because we'd worked together on the Comedy Playhouse pilot, which was a lot of fun, really, really a lot of fun. And I remember writing in my diary, just, "Oh my god, it's such a big day! Oh my god, this is amazing for the Comedy Playhouse," and then having no idea what was to come.
It's amazing. That's not a bad way to get a job. So, Lisa, what led you to Gwithian?
I'm probably quite well known for having a little black book of actors. I go to the odd show, I go to the odd read through of things, and I think I knew that Gwithian had worked with friends of mine before. But anyway, I went to a pilot, a sort of tryout of a quite an ancient musical. I think it's safe to say Gwithian, isn't it? and they were all around it. This was at Jermyn Street, and they were all around their microphones doing the things. And I had a friend in it anyway. And it's funny how I suppose I've been at it such a long time. You just get an instinct for who can do it and who can't. And in amongst this extraordinary piece that I was watching, Gwithian sort of stood out because he was making sense of what he was doing. He was characterising, he was doing it well, he was reading it well. And I was thinking, that's quite useful. Only because, this sounds like a sweeping generalisation, but casting young actors for audio isn't as easy as you think it is these days. And you need somebody who can pick up a script and understand the character that they're talking about, because we work in very quick sessions. We haven't got time to rehearse and do all of that. So anyway, the Comedy Playhouse came up and I read the script. This is one set in Sad Sunk Rock, wasn't it, Gwithian?
Yes,
and,
yeah.
It was set in Scotland, and there was this kind of slightly metrosexual boy in it, and I was thinking, who could play this? And I thought, I tell you what, let's try Gwithian out. And actually, on the day, he cracked it completely. I had lots of energy and was great, and I thought, great. Anyway, that was that. Sad Sunk Rock sunk without trace. I don't know quite what happened to that. Anyway,
it's what happened to that. Yes.
Moving on. Anyway, then Alfie very kindly asked me back to do some 12th Doctors, The Adventures, and I thought fine. And then, of course, the responsibility. And I read the first one thinking it was just a guest part, and then I realised that it's a companion, and it carried on. I read that, and all I could hear was Gwithian's voice. I know it sounds stupid. It's the rhythms, it's the patterns, it was everything. It was also, there is an enormously emotional arc in this. It's not just playing the bantery sidekick asking Doctor the questions the whole time. Alfie's touched on it already. There is a huge emotional arc, from comedy moments to really very deep trauma. And Gwithian kind of struck every point at every point, and frankly, on the first day I thought, well, this is going to be easy, I don't have to worry about this very much. I mean, I've always said ad infinitum that if you cast something properly, it's really just a case of tweaking on the day, because the actors who can act just pick something up and go, I understand this, I know where we are, I know the character. And what I hadn't predicted, and as I've said before, is that the chemistry between Gwith and Jon was day one. It was magic. And I think also Jon appreciated that Gwithian could do it, because there's always an element of thinking, who am I going to be cast opposite? And sometimes you listen to things and you go, wow, why wasn't I very good in that? And you kind of go, oh, okay. You need something coming back at you. It's a tennis game, acting. It's you've got to have that to and forth. And Jon, again, he lives in the world of impressions, and this is very much a dramatic storytelling play with ups and downs emotionally. And again, when you're playing somebody opposite who's hitting all the marks, then you've got no choice but to go with it. And I think that really, really worked in studio, and I'm absolutely delighted. The only reason I actually knew that Gwithian was a fan, it wasn't until we were in the pub afterwards, after one of the stories where there was Gwith and two girls who'd been in the episode with him, and he went very quiet, and then everybody, in fact, it was both the girls and Gwithian just said, "You do know this is my dream job, don't you?" Yeah. I had no idea. Obviously, there's an element of thinking, well, there's always a very fine line when casting somebody is a fan, because you never quite know how it's going to manifest itself on the day. So
now, you've mentioned Jon there, but before we come to him, Alfie, when it comes to creating the companion character, is it always sort of try and find a contrast to what there has been before?
I mean, not always, but it helps. In terms of this one, we wanted to do something which enabled us to slightly skip over the basics, because when you do the TV show, it's got to be modern day, so most of the audience, if your nan or your aunt or whoever's watching, they get a through line. But if you're coming to Big Finish, generally it's probably fairly safe to say the basics of the show. And so we wanted a companion who could slightly go, well, I know aliens have existed and I know that time travel's real, but I haven't experienced all that. So we sort of were looking for something that we could do that. So we knew we didn't want to do past or present day. We'd done future. So it's like, well, what do we do? And we knew we were sort of looking at sort of post-apocalyptic one, because that was kind of what we were looking at for the last series. That was the other choice, sort of post-apocalyptic or cyberpunk. And you go, well, okay, but where do we do post-apocalyptic? If we shove it all the way at the end of time, then that's a sort of interesting new dynamic. But in terms of, it's not like the be all and end all, if it's contrast, it's just what can we do that gives, the character, makes them interesting, makes them likable. Why would the Doctor want to go with them? Why would they want to go with the Doctor? Do we have scope for them to expand as a character or change as a character? So it's not necessarily, you could do a Monday person who worked in a shop, like Rose was, and you could do another one and it would still work. It's not necessarily about contrast. It's just what appeals to us, and in this instance, how can we slightly skip some of the steps while still retaining the wonder. So Ash has never travelled in time in episode 2. He's amazed that he's seen grass because he comes from a dead world, and things like that. You can just do little things that interest us as creators. Really, it's always all about stuff that you think is interesting as a creative, and hopefully the audience will come with you, and sometimes it'll resonate with them and sometimes it won't, but you've just got to keep doing stuff that interests you and you think is dramatically exciting and appeals to your tastes in drama.
Can I just jump in and say the quality of the scripts have been absolutely fantastic. I mean, there's always a preconceived idea about science fiction and scripts, but they were properly classy, dramatic scripts with a very good emotional core in all of them. So, Ash's responses to the grass, for example. I mean, it's not kind of, oh, Doctor, look, it's so big on the inside and small on the outside. It was all rooted in a proper response to something, and that happens in every episode. How can I put this? The authenticity of the emotional responses in all of these scripts has been fantastic, and as an actor, only from the outside looking in, it's so much more interesting to play. I don't know how you feel about it, Gwith.
Oh, no, I mean, absolutely. I remember reading all 6 of them, and there's quite a lot, and all of them are a certain amount of pages, and you get through them, but you do get through them quickly because there's good action as well, and I think that's quite important in audio. I think I've seen some sort of feedback, and the action in these scripts is good because it's good to have a bit of balance, because with audio you want to be taken on a journey that transcends just for you've got to be taken on a journey through your ears. And actually, a good point to mention, the music
wonderful.
Is phenomenal. I mean, I've just been listening to it on repeat. It's just absolute cinema. It's just
Borner has really delivered the
goods
goods on this.
He's amazing, and I think he's going to be releasing a music suite of like 45 minutes of the whole, all of it together.
Yeah.
And the thought he's put into it, and all of the details.
Yeah. And that through line of Ash's song.
Yes,
threads through the entire series, and it's so clever.
I'd like to think that, Gwithian, you went out and you picked up a lute and went for a walk, through village lanes, walking village to village and singing songs and making your merry way, merry with an IE, and to earn some ale and board and keep and bread, just to get into character.
Yes.
It's called playing rep, isn't it?
I think that's yes. I think I've done that many times. Yeah. Do you know what? There was, when I was reading the script, actually, there was a lot of inspiration from. I mean, I'm a big fan of The Witcher. I think a certain bard is a great sort of source of inspiration for Ash. But also with Ash, I like Ash because Ash is a character that kind of toes the line between almost slightly annoying, but then also can break your heart at the same time. It's that very, very, very fine line where sometimes you're like, well, why would I hang out with this guy? He's loud, he's making jokes all the time, he's, but then actually the other side of it, you realise, oh no, I do want to spend time with this guy because he's loyal, he's kind, he cares about the people around him. And I think that goes for a lot of actors. So I highly relate, heavily relate to a character like Ash.
Now, we've touched on Mr. Culshaw, our 12th Doctor. And as I said right at the start, it's something I've got a vested interest in since Jon was my recommendation, given that I'd seen him in Edinburgh when he was doing his show a couple of years ago, and he was doing his Billy Connolly. And then I just thought, if he poshed that up a little bit, you've got pretty much Peter Capaldi. So how has Jon been for you guys?
I'm going to hand over to Alfie first.
Extraordinary. I mean, really brilliant. I mean, as Lisa said, there's 2 components to this, which is the impression, for want of a better term, and the performance. And I think Jon has absolutely managed to nail both. And we do, we don't write it for Jon. We don't even really particularly write it for Capaldi. We just write the character. And we, everything we do, we write the character and we expect the actors to just be able to rise to it. And I think Jon's really been able to do that. I mean, the level of prep he has done is insane. Like months beforehand, he was saying, "Oh, I've bought them all on DVD. They are all available on iPlayer, Jon, but I'm glad that you're supporting physical media." But was listening to it, and then in the studio had the on his phone and would, if before certain things, just go away and top himself up, and really, really cared about the performance and the episode, and responded, was brilliant in studio, responded well to the notes, bounced off well with Gwithian, the guest cast, and you couldn't want more from a leading actor, really.
I'd only ever directed Jon remotely before, actually, and poor Jon, and twiddling knobs and doing that sort of thing didn't quite sit terribly well. I think we had to do it twice in the end. But actually, being in studio with Jon, as Alfie has said, his pre-prep, his concentration, his physicality, actually. I know there are a couple of little videos going around, but you always talk about audio just standing there and doing it. I think most radio audio actors will say you put a lot of physicality into it. And he was really, really into it, but not to the point where he was not engaging with the other actors. He would listen and respond in an absolutely authentic way, because there's always going to be tropes when you're, again, Alfie says, in want of a better word, impersonating another performance, that you stick to the same tropes. I mean, inevitably, people are going to go, "Oh, well, it's not Peter, so we're not interested." But this is beyond. I didn't look at him hardly at all through the control room window, because you were so involved with the performance that, and it became uncanny after a while. I mean, I'm sure Gwith would say the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, as I was just reading the lines in front of me, I couldn't look at Jon, even though he was right across the room from me. He was just there. He was in the room. It was surreal speaking to Jon, and then putting on the headphones, and then looking at the script, and then hearing Peter Capaldi. I mean, Peter's voice is one of those voices, like, you have voices which are easy, quote unquote, easy to replicate, which are very distinctive, like someone like Michael Caine or something. Everyone could do an impression of Michael Caine, but Peter Capaldi's voice is just his voice. And it's almost one of those things where it's like, oh, no one can do that. That's impossible. You couldn't possibly replicate, But I think Jon has... It's amazing. It's wizardry.
And I think people need to listen to I'm obviously going to say this, aren't I? They need to listen to the entire sweep and emotional journey of this series to get an idea of how good Jon is in this. It's all very well listening to trailers or just the odd episode. I mean, obviously, I'm selling our wares, but at the same time, I think, I don't know, I hesitate to say it will silence the critics, or silence the skeptics, I think is the best way of putting it, because it is extraordinary and it is a very good performance, and that's what I was delighted, and I shouldn't say surprised, but I was absolutely delighted by.
I think that, for me as a Scottish person, it's very easy to hear a bad Scots impression. You can hear and I'm not at all going to mention any Canadian actors called Jimmy Doohan, but when you've got somebody who's doing the accent, and what Peter, there you go, what Jon does, it's the S sound at the end, like, yes, and he just lets that S hang there just for a wee second. And it is so authentic to Peter Capaldi.
I mean, Capaldi's accent is not easy.
No, it's posh Glaswegian, which is, and it's quite hard to tell, even though he comes from a very working class area, but obviously he's modified his accent over the years, but it's Billy Connolly poshed up. And that was sort of my note. And so when I said that, I texted that to Nick Briggs after seeing the show and saying, "Oh my God, I think I found your 12th Doctor if you're looking for one." And it's just uncanny. Obviously, Jon's natural voice is quite similar, sort of age-wise, to Peter when he was cast, and you've got that similar timbre to it. But just, wow, I was absolutely blown away. And it's just like, I'm listening to Peter Capaldi, and I'm a huge Capaldi fan, so if I can accept him, I would like to think others will do. and that's just, just incredible. What's he like to work with?
Oh, what's Jon like to work with?
Yeah.
He's got so many voices. And he's just fascinating to watch because he'll bring out a voice here and there. I mean, even in the booth, he was bringing out Tom Baker, he was bringing out John Pertwee, but he's got so much in there that he's just fascinating. But as an actor, he's brilliant. He's brilliant. I mean, I've worked with so many actors now, and he was one of those ones where it was a brilliant tennis match. The rally was going strong. You know, I'd throw something at him and he'd throw something back, and it just worked. It fizzled. There was no point where I was thinking, oh God, this is tough. You know, if anything, I was keeping up with him.
I think Jon is a man who saturates himself in the subject when he's in his workplace. I'm sure it happens on Dead Ringers. I'm sure it happens on other shows, because if there's any distraction from the universe within which you are, and it's I mean, obviously comes naturally to him, but it's an intense work process to get into the mindscape and the rhythms of somebody completely different. And I think, you know, within the context of being social in studio, the brain is still somewhere else. I think the brain is still thinking, I'm in the Doctor Who world, and these are the references, and it's almost keeping it going during the nice tea breaks or the lunch break to get back into the studio to pick it up like that again. Although he does occasionally listen, obviously, again to the voice before he goes back into the studio. And actually, a couple of actors who have obviously been replacing the Doctors in the past have had that same thing of having to listen to it. But Jon is absolutely saturated in the world, and I think it's a job of work, but an enjoyable job of work, obviously.
So, tell us about the stories, because obviously the first couple of episodes are out as we speak. So what's it like launching a new series then, Alfie?
Oh, well, if anyone hasn't got enough stress in their life, I can thoroughly recommend launching a new series. I mean, look, it's very exciting. It's very stressful. The reaction is, broadly very positive, which is really pleasing. In terms of the opener, the only thing that has to do really is make you like the TARDIS team, explain why the TARDIS crew exists. So why does the companion want to go with the Doctor? Why does the Doctor want to take that companion with them? So you do it's a fairly simple plot. If you look at any series opener, none of them having very complicated plots, because you're just going, this is the stage. And the second death, I think, is quite interesting. I think it'll be interesting for people to listen to it once they've heard the rest of the series, because it does a lot of things that you do not realise it is doing.
Yep, really good point.
It's deceptively simple, but it sets up 2, 6, 7, and some of the later ones as well, in ways that we haven't gone, ooh, this is a thing. There's lots of little futuristic series Easter eggs. There's a dumb term. There's a lot of things it sets up without flagging it, setting things up. And then, so episode 2, as hopefully people would have heard by now. If not, pause, listen, come back. We very much wanted the sort of counterpoint to episode 1. So it's a very positive story. The TARDIS didn't get a win. It ends on a positive note. But there's not that many two-parters, like sort of traditional two-parters. In fact, I don't think 11 and 12 will be a sort of traditional two-parter. But we have lots of what I call call and response episodes, which is developed in the 11th Doctor Chronicles, where we did the Curiosity Shot with James Goss, and then did Broken Hearts by Lisa McMullen, and it was then dealing with the fallout of being separate adventures, but dealing with the fallout of the previous adventure. So episode 2 deals with the fallout of episode 1. Episodes 3, 4, and 5 all run directly into each other and are a sort of cascade of consequences. Then episode 6, not a finale. Please don't think it's a finale. You will really be disappointed. Engages back in with episode 1 and deals, and as well as having the emotional through line of 2 through 5. And then episode 7 is a response to episode 6. Or it will be once I finish writing it. and from that, then we have 8 and 9 is direct response to that. 10 is a direct response to that, but they're all individual episodes. So it's a lot of call and response. It's a lot of stories that build on each other, and we're not. It's more. This whole series isn't really a series of Doctor Who like you've got on the telly. It's more of a streaming show disguised as a series of Doctor Who. Like, it is all just one story, but we're just doing lots of sort of almost chapters rather than distinct adventures, which will make sense when you listen to it, but I appreciate that's a fine line. I don't think I'm being dishonest when I say that, but it is a 12 episode story, and the one in episode 6, when you get to it, reveals some things. You're not going to get a lot of answers. In fact, you'll definitely have more questions. But stick with us, because it is all one big journey, and it is more planned than anything I've done before. That the 11th Doctor Chronicles was very responsive, but 12, we've had to twiddle a few things along the way, but it is much more planned out. It's much more building in a direction. It has more of a momentum. If people are waiting on the fence to listen to it all as one, I strongly recommend you listen to this week by week. There's some really lovely cliffhangers, if I do say so myself, as the person who runs the show, that will have you chatting and you won't want spoiling. There's a whole episode, I won't say which one yet. You will want to be one of the first people to listen to it if you're a Doctor Who fan. You will not want that spoiled for you. We've done everything to go, we are assuming you're coming with us week by week. We are basically, bizarrely, the mentality was, if I have to fight for you to buy each one of these individually, I will absolutely do so. Currently not an option. hopefully in the future. But there is a momentum to it and a real propulsion to it that I think is more in line with something like a sort of comic book series or a streaming show, even though those are kind of separate things, rather than a sort of traditional series of Doctor Who.
I think there's also a certain amount of nostalgia to it with the weekly thing. Certainly what I've picked up from reading various comments saying, I'm genuinely looking forward to next week. And when was the last time you heard that? Yeah, we really wanted to. The sort of unofficial pitch for this is 2016 didn't have a series. Let's make that series. And while I think I have less of an attitude of let's recreate insert era of Doctor Who here. I'm very much at the point now where I'm hitting Doctor Who with hammers and seeing how far I can push it before I break it. There is an element of, we do want it to feel sort of like the era in terms of it's got the big music, the characters are emotionally all in the right place. It has those next time trailers. It's going out weekly. We're doing everything we can to approximate a series, but at the same time, if a story, you're like, well, that would have fitted in another era. Don't care. If it's the good enough story, we'll put it in. But it is, the idea with the weekly thing is it will feel like as close to a series of Doctor Who as possible. It's meant to be the 2016 series. It might end up just being an Alfie Shaw, Lisa Bowerman special series. This is just the thing we've made. But it will at least feel like a series. How's that for a ramble?
No, I'd say that's the man who's done his sales pitch properly.
So can I just put a word in for both Alistair Locke, who did the first episode, and Maddie, who did the rest of the series on the post-editing, because again, a lot of work, and they really made it beautiful. Yeah,
the whole team has done beautiful work on this. Everyone, sound design, music, Ash, cover artist, not character, on the cover art. Went above and beyond to make sure we could get weekly covers as well as a box set cover. Everyone, and people have heard Borna behind the scenes going, I've taken a guitar and cut off the appropriate
take off the G string, I know.
to make sure that it sounds right. We've really gone. This is probably for a multitude of reasons, which I'm sure people will get to at some point. This is probably the last series of Doctor Who I will produce on audio. Probably, T's and C's apply, but it's looking likely. So we are just, we found another kitchen sink to throw at it, because I thought I'd thrown the kitchen sink at it last time, but I'm like, here's the second one. So we are all in on making this as big, and
it's an event audio.
It's absolutely.
The thing that I'm really gutted is that, obviously, because people are listening and they can't see, that the way that you were selling the series, Alfie, your hand was going full Capaldi during that all. It was very, very in character.
The hands are going forward. But yeah, it's a whole thing. Everyone's thrown itself at it. As the series will go on, I think some people, given what we did last time, will expect some weird episodes, like structurally. It's series-wise, there's some weird structure stuff. Obviously, 6 is a reboot of 1, but we are going to get weirder as it goes along. This is a series that builds, and so we are. If you think we've thrown everything at it now, wait till you get to the second half, where there's some really all right, let's just go for it. Why not?
The episode a week format is something that really excites me as a fan, because it's something Big Finish did back in, I think it's about 2008 with the 8th Doctor and Lucy Miller when there was no show on air. 2009 it was. And I'm really enjoying it, and I think it's a great idea. And it's sort of like got me checking my phone and my updates as to when's the next episode going to drop. I want it. I want to hear it now. And I think having that anticipation is great. It's something that we haven't had in a wee while. And it's at least a year now, so it's really sort of exciting having that to look forward to and knowing it's going to be one hell of a ride.
I mean, it was something so when I was told that I was taking over 12, they said we're not doing CDs just because, the basis we've got for this is the 11th Doctor Chronicles run. That's the closest we've got for this, and if people look at that, it sold well. But you can still buy the first 3 on CD. Just the download sales massively outstrip the CD sales for these Doctors. So it was kind of it's a sad. I'd love them to be on CD personally, but it's just an economic reality. Things are getting more expensive. These tough choices have to be made. But when I was told download only, I absolutely went, okay, then let's do them weekly. Let's embrace you can't do weekly CDs. You'd go insane. So since we've got that freedom, let's make it like a series of the show. Let's go weekly. And if people like the weekly thing, please do write in to inquiries, the podcast, Vortex, and let people know, because there is no guarantee as it stands at the moment that the episodes 7 through 12 will be done weekly. This is a big experiment, and if people like the experiment, they have to let Big Finish know that they are enjoying it. It's the only way it will happen again. So if you are enjoying it, please do write in. I think those are the 3 main access channels.
Vortex at bigfinish.com, inquiries at bigfinish.com, and feedback at bigfinish.com, I think they are. So, yes.
Just do let the powers that be know that you are enjoying it.
Yeah.
Very much so. So, we've got 2 stories out, and I'm going to ask you each for a highlight so far.
In the first 2 stories?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can it be 2?
Yes, because of course you can. You're Ash. You can have 2 if you want. You can have 10.
I mean, a highlight for the first episode was running that end scene. I'm sure for those who have listened to it now, being able to do that level of emotion in the booth with Jon and just us, and it was at the end of the day as well, so we're tired. We've had a whole day of recording, and all that exhaustion and emotion. That's almost quite real after such a first intense first day. But that was a real highlight. I remember that, and I listened back to it again, and I was really happy with how that came across, because it felt good in the room, and then sometimes you do something and it feels good, and then you listen back to it and you're like, oh, well, that wasn't how it felt, but it was absolutely what I felt. And I listened to the first episode in the car with my partner, who is Scottish as well.
Yeah.
She was also listening up. she's from East Ayrshire.
Kilmarnock area.
No, she's in Stewarton.
Oh, Stewarton. That's only about 20 minutes drive from me.
You're joking.
I'm an East Kilbride.
You're an East Kilbride.
Do you know my auntie?
Oh my God.
If you mention any location, the specificity increases until they can go, I live 732 metres from the person you know.
Yeah, it's so true.
It's so Scottish.
Oh yeah, but I remember she turned to me and she was like, wow, that was very fantastic. She really enjoyed it. And then my second favourite highlight in each second episode is that I got to work with a friend of mine, completely randomly. But I remember Lisa said that for the Amber Giant, who was obviously this 30-foot tall giant, she'd employed this actor who was like 7 foot, really tall guy. And I was like, oh, I wonder who that is. And then in walks someone who I'm friends with, Jan, and he walks in, and I'm like, oh my God, I hadn't seen him for ages. But it was so funny how we'd been talking about this guy the previous day. And then there he was. So it was great to sort of rekindle him. And it was great because then we rekindled our, friendship, and then I ended up working with him on a project the following year. So now it's coming to the releases and we're like, yeah, this is great. We've got the Amber Giant and Ash and all that stuff. So that was a highlight working with him. That would be my 2.
That's fantastic.
Mine are very trivial. Mine are less to do. I'm sorry, it's less to do with the actual script. I mean, of course, it goes without saying, I loved all the scripts at every single point, and they all had highlights during the whole thing. The first one was very trivial because I'd cast Claire Bloom and Robert Whitelock, who has worked a lot for Big Finish, obviously, and I brought him on board a long time ago. And turns out, well, of course, I should have known this because I'd taken both their photographs at drama school. They were both at RADA in the same year, and I don't think they'd worked together or professionally at all. And it was great because just watch that kicking off in studio was great fun. And actually, you bring up in the second episode, you bring up Jan, and that was quite by chance because I was trying to find an actor with a genuinely low voice who was younger, and I trawled a spotlight, trawl, found this great voice. I thought, well, that'd be good, and I employed him, and that's fine. And it wasn't until I looked on the spotlight and went, bloody hell, he's almost 7 foot tall. And I had no idea until I'd looked. I thought, oh, well, that's, what is it, nominative to no, that's when you're called something tall. But it was really spooky because
it felt like fate.
It felt like
really
fate.
Good casting.
It was a piece of casting. But the highlights are just the moments in studio where you can have a laugh, really, including on the serious bits. I mean, those emotional scenes are just off the scale in all of the episodes, actually.
Highlights for me. I mean, this feels a bit like a mugging at this point because I wrote the first episode, so it's tell me you love me.
We do.
So I think for the first one, I think just the chemistry between Gwyn and Jon throughout and how that immediately landed. It was really telling. Also, when we had all the guest writers come in for their episodes and they sat in studio, and we had the writers for the next 3 stories in as well, so they could get an idea of the voice, and all of them went, Gwithy's exactly how I imagined in my head as I was writing them, even before, obviously, way before we even entered the picture. It's an absolute triumph of casting, and full credit to Lisa for that. So that's probably the highlight of episode 1, other than there's also some really lovely lines in there, but I would say that. And episode 2, I think one of the really nice things about that is the use of music and highlighting, Ash as a bard, the Doctor as this sort of guitar playing incarnation, and the end is just them sort of jamming together as therapy. I thought was a really nice nice moment in the script, and Borna has done wonderfully. And again, of course, there's Ash's song about shining like a star, which, again, if people are looking for things to look out for, maybe keep a note of that song.
Yeah,
it's been a delight. Is that cryptic enough? Is that cryptic and obvious enough?
Spoilers.
You're like, what are you all talking about? But yeah, that's for the first 2.
I have actually one more highlight. Is that cheeky?
No, not at all. You're allowed to.
It's also nice that you're finding more things that you like. If you've gone, I've actually got a few complaints.
Well, actually, no. This one's a complaint. No,
right,
now we're talking. No, actually, one of my favourite things, and it consistently makes me laugh because I quite like re-listening to the episodes and finding new things in them. The one thing that consistently makes me laugh is the Alfie Shaw cameo jump scare. And there's one in the second episode, and I won't say anything, but there may be some more, and I love them every time. They're my favourite.
Yes, audiences will truly experience the very limited range of my acting. What has been really nice as a highlight, it's not necessarily the first 2 episodes, is as soon as we've had the signed off edits, I've been sending them to Gwyn so he could experience them early, and the feedback and joy that he's had listening to them has been really Really great to see.
Oh my God.
And quite reassuring as well.
Yeah, I will never forget the first time I listened to the first episode was in a very. I happened to be on holiday in an all-inclusive in Turkey with my sister, and so I was lying there by this beautiful beach listening to the second death Doctor Who. It was bizarre, but it's a memory I'll never forget.
That is amazing. I love having things like that.
Oh, actually, I've only got one more. You don't know because it's actually on the next episode. But it was actually going for that drink with the youngies in the pub after episode 3, when the sheer joy of being in anything related to Doctor Who was off the scale. One of them said, I mean, because I suppose I'm used to just sort of offering jobs here, there, and everywhere, because I don't audition people. I just listen, and hopefully my instinct is right. And one of them just said, I can't believe it. I mean, she's so young anyway, and she goes, I can't believe it. I was outside and I got the phone call and I screamed. She said, I screamed that I'd got the job, and it was so... I love giving people a nice time. I'd no idea it was that important, but it was. I mean, actors, give me work. But speaking for myself, but just the wonderful joy that this insane program has meant to people, even of a younger generation, I think is something to relish.
Well, all of you, thank you so much for your time. I've had an absolute ball. Really, really enjoyed. I'm absolutely gagging to hear the rest of the series. But I will wait. I will not be asking for copies in advance. I will wait for my downloads because I like my weekly thrill. But can we reconvene when the next batch of 6 are ready to go, please?
Yes, of course.
Why not?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Thanks, Kenny. Appreciated.
Thanks, everybody. I've had a ball.
Cheers, Kenny.
Cheers, Kenny.
So there we go. Are you all ready to go out and buy it now? Please do, because it's fantastic. So, where can you order it? Well, head over to www.bigfinish.com, and if you have a look for the 12th Doctor Adventures, you'll be able to find Run Fast, Be Kind as a 6-episode bundle, and that's available for just $43.99 on download. So my maths isn't very good, but you're talking 6 episodes divided by, so that's 44 divided by 6. What is that? And as I say, not very good at maths. £7.33 an episode, so you're talking a good hour's worth of entertainment, plus of course the extras, so it's not a bad bundle at all. So please do consider giving it a wee go. If you've enjoyed today's episode, feel free to follow us on social media and leave a comment. We're at Power of 3 Pod on Twitter, we are at Finish Scene on Blue Sky, and we have a Facebook group too. And feel free to leave a review wherever you get your podcasts from. Hopefully a positive one. As we know, this is a doctor who likes his music and playing his guitar. So why don't we play out with Peter Capaldi jamming away in the TARDIS and giving us his rendition of the Doctor Who theme on his own axe. Until next time, I've been Kenny Smith. Bye bye.